Okay, welcome to PKI for Mere Mortals. We're going to be talking through a bunch of stuff. We're going to have a brief introduction, going to go through what certificates are. I think that's going to probably be a little bit low level, but that's okay. Going to talk about why we want them or need them, generating your own certificates, using Let's Encrypt, and automating Let's Encrypt with Universal Dashboard. And then we'll have a little bit of questions. But of course, if you do have a question, please just stick your hand up and we'll chat about it. So, first up, who are we? I'm James Ruskin. This is Stevie. You probably know him. Yeah, you know.
That slides a lot.
And yeah, we both work at Chocolatey Software. So yeah, we're having a good time. And yeah, if I do get a little bit too excited, please just slow me down. So what are certificates? They are unique blobs of data with private and public components. They're used to encrypt and sign data. And you can use them for validation of that. They're often signed first up by somebody else who's trusted, and you can then use that to ensure that you've got a chain of trust, essentially, to, well, there's the phrase, to whoever you care about. And of course, you can add certificates to trust to Windows and other operating systems in order to control your risk. Which of course leads to the joy of having controlled VMs and the like to generate certificates and then use for signing stuff. What do we use them for? As I said, we can verify identity of people, servers, code. We use it to sign code and software, signing commits and messages, emails, for example. And we can prove that these things were made by the person they say they were, or at least somebody who's nicked the key. You can also secure traffic between endpoints, so for example, users and websites, APIs, etc. These days, Chrome, Firefox, and other browsers are making more and more of a deal about ensuring you have both a certificate that looks trusted and that you're signing your traffic and using HTTPS. Excuse me. So, in a world like that, where we are starting to emphasize that we want to use HTTPS for everything, and we still want to spin up random things to play with, what can we do? Well, Let's Encrypt is great. They've been around since about 2014 and allow you to, anybody, to secure a certificate for domains they own. And how can we make that fun? Using PowerShell, of course, and I've written a note to do jazz hands, so please bear with me. I was going to ask you to do it, but yeah. So, keeping the slides really short this time. Demos. Okay, thank you. I'll try and keep more centered. So, we have some demos. So we can start out by creating a self-signed certificate, which is obviously very simple, very quick and easy. Is this big enough and clear enough for everybody? Fantastic, thank you. So really basic. We're just going to create a quick certificate for test-self-signed.cho.co and create that self-signed certificate there. So we now got our certificate created within my certificate, my current user in this case, because I'm not elevated. And we can see that we've got a certificate object back out of that. If we want, we can export that as a PFX file, which can then be used in general for importing to stuff like Nexus, any website or anything you want. And of course, sorry, if you're wanting to use this for other things that... Sorry. Yeah, you can use that for just about anything that you want to. Obviously, if you do want to use it for specific tasks, you'll need to play with the various parameters in order to use it for code signing and the like. We do have, hopefully, a way to...
Hey, what modules are those commands in?
That is, it's in Windows, I believe. Stevie?
They're built in, I can't remember the name of the module off the top of my head though.
Microsoft something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's,
just.
PKI.
yeah, PKI.
Okay.
Well,
So is that just built right in PowerShell?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So let's just see if I can get that out in this case. Oh, sorry, I got it. Yeah, you are correct. Let's just ignore that then. Cool. So, yeah, so we can get that out. We can have a certificate that we want to use, and we can even inspect both the certificate, and here we can see that we've got our self-signed certificate, but it's not actually trusted. In this case, it's because we haven't used any kind of certificate that's in our trusted root certificates store. So how do we get past that? We can use something like Let's Encrypt, as I said. Which is, sorry?
Home Lab rejoice.
Yeah. So this is much more complex. In this case, obviously, as I said, there are many arguments to be used with the various self-signed cert commandlets, but this is, we're going to use Cloudflare in this case. There's a whole bunch of plugins you can actually use. So we've got the documentation for PSHSummit here, which is the module we're going to be using to interact with Let's Encrypt. And they have, as I said, many plugins for different DNS providers and the like. But we're going to use Cloudflare because that's what we're using. Takes a few minutes because it goes and creates records using our token, checks it, and then accepts the request. So we'll kick that off, and we'll just go into a different shell where I'm going to.
So hey Jay, just to clarify, you're using the Cloudflare plugin along with PSHSummit?
Correct.
And that is creating the DNS record in Cloudflare
Yeah, it's automatic.
for the authoritative?
Yeah, sorry. So the question there was that to check that I was using both PSHSummit and the Cloudflare plugin for PSHSummit in order to go and create the DNS record automatically. So there's various ways you can use Let's Encrypt to generate a certificate, both using HTTP, HTTPS requests, the DNS records. So you'll go and create a text record that has the appropriate authentication in it, and then it'll go and verify that you can do that. So you probably own the domain.
Does that also mean Cloudflare is your DNS registrar?
Yes, for this domain at least.
And all the plugins are included with PSHSummit, right? They're just all baked in.
Yeah, and you can actually, they're all available on GitHub as well, so you can just go and look at them, and it's quite fun reading. Again, shouldn't use the term fun. So anyway, that's probably actually now, no, not quite finished. There's a built-in timeout of, I think, 2 minutes. So this does just take a moment. But I'm going to cheat and just pop this in. Although I did make it earlier, it does work. So we can see I'm doing well today, I'm very sorry, guys. Oh, yeah. So here's one I made earlier that isn't the one I just mentioned. And we can see then that we do have a lovely cert object that has a bunch of properties. So expanding that. It's actually fewer properties than I expected. Well, let's just grab the other one then, because we're back. There we go. So we can see we've got a not after time that is pretty close by. relatively speaking. This is because Let's Encrypt suggests that you rotate your certificates quite often, because it's so easy to just go and get another one, instead of having a year or more where you might leak the certificate and then find that you need to revoke it. But it's generated all of these files. We can go and have a look at those, but you've got your full chain file, which has every certificate up the trust chain, PFXs, etc. And yeah, so you can just grab that.
Question.
Yep.
I can see in that property where the cert file is for PSHSummit. Where does the new certificate drop its files?
The self-signed certificate drops its files directly into your certificate store, or wherever you have told it to do so. You can then export it as a PFX file, but you'll have to choose a path at that point. There's no default location
It
there.
doesn't actually create a file on the disk anywhere,
No.
right? Okay.
And sorry, the question, I'm trying to get better at this repeating thing. The question there was, when you're using the new self-signed cert, does it drop a file anywhere on your disk? And the answer is no, not by default. So, yeah, and we can see all the files here. And the nice thing about this, if this works, is we can then go have a look at our exported certificate and see that, yeah, it is actually trusted. It's one of the default certificates in the trusted root certificate store is something that Let's Encrypt is using, which is great. So that's how you do it if you're doing it manually. We want to talk about making it fun, doing it with a dashboard or something along those lines. So I'll pass over to Stevie to show some interesting stuff with dashboard.
Awesome. Quick show of hands, how many people hate PKI? Because I hate it. Yeah, it's no fun. No fun, but let's make it a little bit more fun. And just so you all are aware, if you go to this plugin section of the PSHSummit docs, here's all of the supported plugins that you can use. So it's pretty advanced. No matter which, pretty much if you're using something for DNS, it's in this list. And he accepts pull requests for anything that's not in that list. So it's relatively easy to generate those certificates using those plugins. So I've got a PowerShell Universal instance. It's running in Azure on an Azure VM at pki.ch0.co. And I've got a bunch of stuff going on inside of here because I wanted to show you all kind of a bunch of different ways that you can solve this problem and make it easier on yourselves. Give you some tools that you can empower other people to just do PKI themselves so you don't have to. We'll start by looking at some pages. And pages are really powerful features inside of PowerShell Universal. They allow you to kind of drag and drop components onto the thing or onto the pane, and then, yeah.
You want to just introduce PowerShell Universal in case people don't know?
Yeah, so PowerShell Universal, for those who don't know, Adam Driscoll, who is floating around the conference here and had a session earlier, is the creator of this thing. It's really cool and really powerful. So you can do dashboards, you can do pages, you can do automation, which is scripts and jobs. So you can have scripts that run on schedules or via triggers or whatever. And you can also generate your own APIs as well via endpoints. So if you need to create a RESTful API service to do something, all of that is supported inside of the single platform, and they can all tie together, which is super nice, super great. And that's actually what some of this stuff that we'll walk through does. But back to a page, I've put, if you click edit here and go to toolbox, you can drop charts, you can do data displays, you can do data inputs, and you can do typography inside of pages right now. That's not all of the stuff you can do with Universal. That's just the stuff that's drag and droppable into a page right now. If you need other stuff, use a dashboard. But all I've done is dropped a form on here and then told the form what to be. So if we were to create another form here, you can come down here, You can resize it if you want to, and then you can click this button and start filling it out. So you say, hey, for this particular form, when somebody submits it, I want to run this API, or I want to send the data to this API, or I want to invoke this script. And then you give it the name of a script, et cetera, et cetera. And then the fields, as you fill in these fields, they are the parameters that get passed in either as a body to an API or as the parameter block of whatever script you have on the back end. And we'll go through that as well. But just to show you what that looks like, you can really quickly generate these forms for whatever you need to do.
Is it worth mentioning that it's not just a Wikis weekend editor, you can also do the source code?
Yes, yeah. The pages that are a little bit harder to do the source code with, but you can edit them on the back end because this actually translates into XML on the back end, so you can export it and send it other places, etc. But the same way that James just ran a script to generate a certificate, you could fill out a form to do the same thing. So we could say PowerShell Summit .ch0. We are on ch0.co, right? And then we could give it, oh, this is a funky keyboard.
I'd like to apologize for British keyboards everywhere.
UK keyboard. And what else do we need? You can optionally give your own PFX passphrase here, or you can leave it blank. If you leave it blank, it'll just use the default that PoshAcme uses, which is PoshAcme. So when you import the certificate, it's going to prompt you for a password. It's PoshAcme by default, but you can change it here on this form if you want to. And if you click this nice little auto renew checkbox, what that's going to do is on the back end, it's going to create a scheduled task that runs submit renewal, which takes that certificate and automatically renews it for you, so you don't have to worry about it ever again. And the scheduled task runs 10 days prior to the expiration date on the certificate. So once you generate it, it's done, and you can do whatever you need to there. Depending on the service, you might have more stuff to do, but if your service just relies on the subject name of the certificate and what store it's in Windows, you're good to go. But if you need to like configure like a Java key store or something like that, you're going to need the thumbprint, so there's going to be more work for you to do. But there's some tools in here that will show you that can help you do that as well. So we're going to click save on this and just let that kind of do its thing. And if we go back over here to jobs, this will run. Did that one actually light up? Let me see. I don't see the job actually kicked off. Oh, you know what? I moved it. That form does nothing. That was just to be an example. It's this one. Same thing in a universal dashboard. And you can see there's navigation over here on the left, so you can do different things, et cetera, et cetera. This homepage is kind of cool too. This automatically pulls in all the Let's Encrypt certificates that you've generated on this system, and I've kind of poked some holes into the PoshAcme module to allow this to work within PowerShell Universal. I don't think I'll be able to show it all that well because this VM doesn't explode very well, but if we blow it up just a little bit, maybes. Yeah. So the C program data PoshAcme folder, I know it's super, super small, but believe me, when you go into this LE-prod directory, all of the orders are in here. So all of the certificates live and breathe in this directory. I've moved it. There's an environment variable that you can set with PoshAcme. It's like env PoshAcme_home, I believe, is what it's called. And then you can give it an alternate path, because otherwise it lives in the user directory. Yes?
Could you Windows key plus that?
Maybe. Blow that up. Oh, there you go. Yeah, so that's in C program data, PoshAcme, LE-prod, and then this is like my account number for the Let's Encrypt servers, and then all of the certs live inside of here, inside of this drive.
Key minus connected, right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
And that's built into Windows.
Yes, it is. Yep. Yeah, so that's how I've kind of made PoshAcme work, so that no matter who logs into this dashboard can see all of the certificates, and you can do all of the stuff that you need to do. I've also wired it up so that if you have a certificate on this page and it's not set to auto renew, say we pick on this PKI one. Actually, I don't want to touch that one. That's probably not a great idea to do that while we're using it. This one here, we'll use test 2. So if I were to renew this selected certificate, what that does on the back end is it submits a renewal job. And in a few minutes, when we refresh this data, this date right here will change to 90 days out from where it is. And I think it will auto refresh at some point as well, but things do take a while with Let's Encrypt, because it has to generate those records and those challenges and do all the validation, et cetera, et cetera. But it is possible to automate all this stuff, which is really great. So let's do an ON. So we'll do Summit. Yeah, I can't have. Oh, ho, ho, ho. These shift keys are so small. This is going to take a second. This will sit here and spin until the cert gets generated, and then it'll come back. So we've got 2 minutes before this page will be active again. While I'm doing that, we can flip over to the main page, go to jobs, refresh this. Where are they? Why is it not showing these scripts? Because I stopped using a job. That is why. If you look, this will be, I'll put this up on the Summit GitHub. There's actually a module that's involved here. So this Let's Encrypt module, I stuffed all of the scripts from the jobs into the module, because when I was initially testing this, I had a couple weird instances where the jobs weren't running quite right, but if I ran it as a PowerShell module locally in the box and just coded it that way, everything was fine. So for the sake of demos, I was like, we'll just do a module. So these will all be available on the GitHub repository after Summit's over, but it's running the scripter here at the minute. This new Let's Encrypt certificate, the PS1 file is what's going on right now. And if we look at task scheduler, once this is done, scripts. There it is. Finally popped in. So we have that certificate's been created now, and then there's this scheduled task that's going to run every 85 days to renew that certificate. Where's my messages again? Go. And show. Deploy certificate. This one's kind of fun. Inside of PowerShell Universal, there's this concept of a stepper, which you can add as many steps as you want, and then there can be validation in between each step. So for this particular example, you can give it like a website name. So say fancyapp.co, for example. So next, what's the website name? We're just going to call it Fancy App. Type on this keyboard. One more. And then what certificate do I want to use? And then it's giving me a text or a select box of all the certificates that Valdinger has generated for me that aren't expired. And then I can select whichever one to do that. And then I click finish and then it goes off and then it throws an error because the PowerShell node is broken because it's a single machine on a domain. But it invoke commands and does the IIS thing. But if you look at the IIS stuff, it actually, I've already done it. There it is. And go in here. So there's my fancy app. And if I go to this anyway, go to my links. There's my certificate and report. So that's what it does. It wires that up to use the right certificate. I think that's the there's that test certificate that I clicked renew on. It's been renewed. So it's now at 7/27/2022 as well. But you can get really crazy with this stuff. I mean, the sky's the limit in terms of PowerShell Universal and what you can do with it. And PKI doesn't really have to suck. Like Posh Acme is great for really quickly generating certificates, seeing your certificates, renewing your certificates, revoking your certificates. You can do all of that stuff with Posh Acme module. And because it's just PowerShell and PowerShell Universal executes that on the back end, you can do really whatever you want. It's super great for doing that sort of stuff. Yeah. So if you do, I don't know. Do you have anything in here? Well, I mean, get a PA certificate. I don't have one. Yeah, you do have one. So let's do. Sorry. Oh, look at that. So all that stuff from the PA certificate that he was mentioning. Yeah, super great. So if you wanted to like import this one, for example, you could do this and pipe it to import PSX certificate or whatever you wanted to do, or store that information like that. So you could do import PSX certificate and exportable. Once the keys is exportable for the password, then you can do c.pfxpass like that, because password is a secure string. parameter there, it only accepts the secure. So you don't have to do any work because that probably is already a secure string, so you can just pass it directly in. So it's very, very pipelineable. And things like that. Super nice. I like it very much.
So if you want to play with PowerShell, you don't have a domain or you don't want to mess with an existing domain, there's a free DNS service. It's Valdinger DNS is one that I've used. And there's a plugin already for PowerShell, so this works.
It's super great stuff. I love it. Yeah, you had to create those records. Yeah. So Cloudflare, the Cloudflare API, you can create an API token and limit the scope of that API token to only be able to create records in certain zones. So if you've got Cloudflare, but you've got 4 or 5 or 20 different domains, you can create API tokens for those domains, or one token that does all of them, whatever you want to do, and then the plugin for PowerShell just makes less calls to the Cloudflare API and generates those records for you. It creates like a _acme.challenge record in that domain for you, and then Let's Encrypt checks for that acme challenge and sees it and validates that yes, this is in fact your domain, and then generates a certificate for you and gives it back. And then the plugin gets rid of the record for you as well. So it cleans everything up. So when you go back into your Cloudflare instance and you look at your DNS, those challenges aren't there. They've been cleaned up for you automatically. They're just created long enough to do the challenge, and then they go away. And there are 2 different environments for Let's Encrypt. Very important to mention this one because they limit you. Because it is free, right? Let's Encrypt is a free thing. They are trusted root certificates, so it's great that they provide it for a free service, but being free, they don't want you to abuse it. So it's like, I think 5 failed attempts at validation in an hour, they'll rate limit you, and it's like 300 certificates per domain in a week or something like that. Like, it's not bad in terms of rate limits. Like, unless your script is horribly broken and your automation is just running it over and over and over again, you're probably never going to hit the rate limits. But they do have a staging environment that is much more flexible, and the rate limits are way higher, almost non-existent. And you can control what environment you are on by running these LE server. Yes, set server. Thank you. Set server, and then you can have LE underscore prod and underscore stage. So underscore stage and then prod as well. So you can switch which one you're talking to, but it sticks there. So once you run that, you're using a staging environment until you switch it to prod, or using prod until you switch it to stage. So just be cognizant of that as well. So if you're writing code or something like that, be descriptive. You can put that into code so you know you're targeting the right thing. And then the account information stuff is different as well. So if you accepted the TOS and you've got an account record created in a staging environment, but you haven't done so in prod, but your code doesn't accept the TOS and all of that good stuff, it's going to fail until you add that parameter. So just little tweaks and stuff, but if you follow the documentation for creating your first certificate and just stick to that, you're going to be just fine. That boilerplate code is really all you're going to need to start generating Let's Encrypt certificates, unless you need to do fancy things like have multiple SANs attached to the certificate, etc. You might wildcard it and be fine, or you might have, this certificate's good for mail.myorg.com and whatever other service.myor.com. So you can control all of that stuff with the PA certificate as well. But it's super flexible. He's done a ton of work inside of this module to kind of get out of your way and just let you work and generate certificates and move on. Super nice.
This is just sorry to track back to what he's having with discussing the relative to obviously
Yeah. Found that out the hard way. Yeah. We were. I was generating certificates for this thing. And all of a sudden I was like, I can't generate this certificate anymore. Why? And I found out it was rate limits and red, and I'm like, well, I'm done with this part for 5 days because I can't do anything about it. But
You just get a wild card, right?
you could just get a wild card and you're fine. But I am not that smart. Yeah, future Stevie was kicking the present Stevie for not just wild carding it.
it's easy enough to just generate something like exercise to do this.
Yeah, you can be very prescriptive.
There you go. Automate your things.
Yeah. Yep.
I've never done it before, but I think with Posh Hacking, you can also specify instead of LE prod or LE stage, if you have a private certificate authority, this can protocol.
Yeah, you can.
That server address.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the comment was instead of using LE prod or LE stage that comes with the Posh Hacking module, if you have a server in-house that talks the hacking protocol, you can provide that to the functions, and it'll just send that request to your hacking server as well. I'm trying to think of like something really cool that we can build really fast as a page. That would be cool. Because this stuff is amazing, and I love it. Yeah. You can get started with this stuff for free too. Like, I think you can run one dashboard. I don't know how many pages you can run with the free license, but I think it's like 1 or 2. And then up to 25 jobs a day. So if you just need to generate a certificate every once in a while, the free version is fine. If you want to pay for it, which I highly recommend because it unlocks everything, but you get like authentication and stuff like that behind the scenes too. So it'll tie into Azure Active Directory or Active Directory or anything like that as well. So you can create different roles and things like that, so that anybody and their brother can land on a page that generates a Let's Encrypt certificate and then get a certificate back. That would probably not be the greatest thing to do if I had to think about it. I like that very much. Yeah. Oh, and APIs, you can use the API thing for free, as many as you want. There's no limits on the API thing for each person. That is worth mentioning. So if you do need to have at least something for API endpoints, you can do that as well. Super nice. Anybody want to see anything, have questions? Demos kind of far apart a little bit. So. I can tell you that I use the Posh Hacking module on my Mac all the time, and it never fails. Yeah, it just works. Yeah, it's classic. I love that module so much. Yeah, it's super great. Anything else? I know we got a few minutes left, so. I made it run privileges. Yeah, exactly.
And it's
And it's not so much that it touches the cert store as it is. I think
It can be a store, but at least be readily using it can decrypt for secure streaming.
I made it run as the same system user that our PowerShell Universal service was running as, just because it was easier for me to do it that way in Universal. I wouldn't necessarily say that it ran a system, but for the sake of this, it's easy to tell it to run a system. But because PowerShell Universal has the concept of secrets inside of it, you could build a credential object and pass the credential object to the service as well, or to the scheduled job. So you can say, hey, run a system here, and make it do its thing.